Heather Ryan, Assistant Principal, Seoul American Middle School.
Erin Grazak, Assistant Principal, Seoul American High School.
Good. Well, thank you for your interview today. I appreciate all your information. And I really thank you for helping me learn. Appreciate it.
Move into Korea from Japan, where they were taking or studying Japanese. They can then move into a Japanese language class through our virtual school and without losing any credit or opportunities for credit.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Wow. I didn't know that you guys did that. I think that would be very influential, very important, it sounds like, especially since I didn't realize they moved around so much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't offer any Japanese in Korea, and then I didn't offer any Korean in Japan, and those kids go back and forth. So.
Right. My school is unique in the fact that we offer 5 different foreign languages at the moment. We have Spanish, French, German, Korean, and Chinese. And when you compare us, my school right now has about just under 500 students, but when you compare us to the larger schools in Europe, say Ramstein High School that has about 1,100 students, they only offer 3 foreign languages.
Okay.
So
the primary curriculum would be based on the Common Core standards, right?
That's correct.
We call it College and Career Ready, though.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we focus on the content standards, but then the skills that are beyond standards that are necessary to be College and Career Ready, and the dispositions that are also necessary to make you truly successful.
And could you tell me approximately how many AP classes you guys offer? Can you just a ballpark?
In my school, we have probably 9.
Oh, okay, that's quite good.
And then access to many, many more. Probably, I'd say Dodia probably offers about 20 different AP classes.
Yeah, because I think Osan actually is offering 20 right now, and they're about an hour away. We are, of course, a little bit hamstrung by the teachers we have and what they're certified in.
Right.
But it's definitely something that we've been growing. In fact, we're looking more at bringing on people to AP train them.
Okay, good. Excellent.
And we're adding a AP Chinese next year to the schedule.
And that's the other reason why the virtual thing is so important, because while they offer 9 in building, there's kids taking more than that.
Right. Good. So now, since you guys said you have an altered version of the Common Core program, I want to know how your program specifically tailors your students to be, I guess you would say, what we call globally competent students, to promote global mindedness and international mindedness, I guess you would say, for students.
Well, I think the very essence of being on our campus is so different than an American-based one, because we're just such a melting pot. I mean, I think we are about 40, 30, looking at like Black, Asian, Caucasian, and it's a nice mix. And we have so many of the kids too who are local national or up here and married in, so we have a lot of mixed languages. And then we're constantly promoting, so our mission and vision is basically to educate, engage, empower them to be global citizens. So we always stress to them that they have the advantage of having all these worldly connections that some Americans will never have in their life and don't have. And so we're constantly using that fact that they do have to say goodbye to their friends every 2 years as a strength. Every time you say goodbye, you add a new country, a new dynamic to your edge.
Interesting. And I want to focus a little bit more on the 21st century skills. What do you guys think that your school excels in teaching in the 21st century skills? For these global learners, obviously.
We've been stressing communication at my school. Started in last year because we're trying to prepare for College Career Ready. And then we as a system are piloting a bunch of schools that are being built and functioning as true 21st century schools. But we really are in an educational phase for the administrators still, I think.
Right.
So we're constantly like trying to go in and analyze what that looks like and what it is. So the 4 C's, I think we're crushing communication, and we always do focus on critical thinking and problem solving.
Definitely.
Trying to get to those higher levels. That's what we're talking about, those skills beyond the standards, the content.
The working collaboratively, group work, group communication, student-based work.
Very student-based. We're trying to be more learner-focused.
Right.
And the professional development on our end has been a constant of just trying to get the teachers to stop being the show.
Right.
We've really been trying to get them to stop being the sage on the stage.
Is that hard to do?
Yes.
especially at the high school level.
Really? Can you
Absolutely.
explain why? What is the barrier for that?
Well, a lot of high school teachers work as independent contractors. So they teach in isolation. They're very good, very knowledgeable about their content area, but along the way, I think many forget the basis of the pedagogy.
Right.
So it's, here is my knowledge, I give it to you, I need you to show me what I've given you, rather than present a situation, a scenario, a problem-solving task to the students, and to stand back and let them come at it with various different entry points.
Right.
It's hard for a lot of teachers to give up that control.
And one thing that we have struggled with a bit in India is because we're government, our technology gets handicapped quite often because there's a lot of resources that can be used by other schools that we can't because of just
Network security,
Right.
things like that. So our students aren't allowed to bring their own device.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
and where ours can bring their own device with a tech pass, they still can't access any of our wireless because it's Department of Defense wireless.
Right.
So they can bring their own tech pass, technology if they're using their own data. And then because we're also government procurement and getting anything tech added, the process can be anywhere from 8 months to a year.
Oh,
Right.
And so it's very hard if you get people who are really motivated and they found something to stick with it enough to push it through that process. So I think that has been a bit prohibitive in us making a faster move to 21st century. Because even when I said we're focusing on a lot of the communication and collaboration, it's even more in the groups and just getting the kids to talk and be more learner focused, stop the teacher talking. Because we don't have some of the tech I've seen other schools use, unfortunately.
Interesting. Well, I want to go to what you guys said about previously about the professional development of the teachers. So what do you think that you could implement that would encourage teachers to be focused on a more student-centered learning?
Well, we have just this school year implemented system-wide a focused collaboration time period. And right now in our district, our schools, it's a 45-minute weekly period.
Nice.
Which is a start, but it's not long enough. And we're still, Heather's school has already been working kind of in that model, so they've got a lot of the groundwork done. My school's been a bit more difficult. We get going, we have to stop, we have to do some more team building, we have to go back and reassess the value of collaborating. I still have a few teachers with the mindset of I just want to go work with my group. So it's getting teachers to understand the value of collaboration so that they can then take that back and have their students do it. And wanting to work and problem solve at this level so that they can bring it down and have their students do it.
And I had experience in Hillsborough County in the States with professional learning communities. And so in the 2 years prior to this year, I'd been working them towards that. Just building that kind of common vision, that common mission, giving them small tasks to start working on that had shared value systems within, letting them start finding what they wanted to focus on in their departments, which was new to them, but it started empowering them. And then we haven't had the best outside data training, so that a lot of it's trying to get them to understand data.
Okay.
Like, teaching does not equal learning. You have to make sure they're learning, not teaching. And that's something that we harp on a lot. And I also implemented a lot of different things to get them, comfortable with each other and celebrating each other. So we have teachers nominating each other as Teachers of the Month, and we pull anonymously and randomly, but then everyone gets their nomination, so they still feel good. We did a lot of model classrooms, and I really focusing on them getting to respect and appreciate each other, because we knew that this was coming. We knew this was the year we were going to get the college and career ready standards, and that we possibly were going to have this new time. We're still working on it, but it's definitely going to be what helps propel us faster, because we're looking at 90 minutes next year. And they need that. They need that time to learn how to work together.
And with that trust that they get in their collaboration group, we'll start to see teachers willing to take risk, low risk, safe risk in the classroom with their students.
And we're a little bit farther on the risk thing because of all those things I was saying.
Right.
Like the professional development community now, they'll make a year-long focus, and then what happens is on the faculty meeting, which is at the beginning of the month, they tell me what they want showcased, and then I demo it. So I'm demonstrating risk-taking. They know I've not done it before, and we're using whatever the structure is to go through the material that the principal and I need to get through anyway. But they leave with that strategy, and then their peers open up a room later in the month for that. And so we're all trying to say, hey, this is us together, and it's okay to mess up, but let's just keep trying.
Good. So as a school leader and an administrator, like, how would you define your main roles on school? Because I know you have a lot of responsibilities, obviously, and many things you have to do. What do you focus on as being seen as your main role?
What do we think our main role is, or what have you been having to be as your main role?
Well, you can speak on both with your experience, both what you should be and what you have to be.
Well, obviously, our primary purpose is to be the educational leader, and it is a balance between trying to be in the classroom and working with the teachers and the students in the curriculum, and then dealing with all the unpredictable elements that come at you at 100 miles an hour every day. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the focus is definitely being an instructional leader, educational leader. We get together at least once a day just to touch base. One, to kind of vent about those things that are dragging us down with insane discipline issues, and then two, making sure we're still touching base on what our instructional focus is, bouncing it off, and then always leaving we actually are each other's reminders sometimes. Like, okay, yeah, I have to remember to go do that. And it helps keep us making the kids first always.
So, like recently, I was doing an observation on one of my teachers, and it was a video teacher. And I very much enjoyed it. He had taken a risk. He was implementing a new activity that came out of our college and career readiness training, and it was in the video class of all places.
And we had just had the training in January.
Right. And then I met with Heather a couple hours later, and I said, you should see this cool thing I saw today. She loved the idea. She went back to her school, talked to her video teacher about it, who then contacted my video teacher, and now we've been able to establish some cross collaboration between the two schools.
So do you have a lot of experience with cross collaboration between your two schools?
They always talk about vertical articulations between the schools, but depending on the complex and the principles of each individual school in a complex, that goes better or not. We do a lot together. Even from, like she said, with the collaboration, they have to kind of take a couple steps forward, and then they're like, whoa, let's go back. We'll get together and brainstorm. She'll say, this just happened on this element, and there's no trust now, and it's going to bleed in, and then we'll redo a trust activity. But I think the intent is, and everyone wanted the intent to be at the beginning of the year, was to get more vertical, but there's just so much groundwork that had to be done horizontally first, even within our own schools. We're not ready. I think we would have jumped the gun on that.
We do, like, our music teachers talk more so about logistical stuff, but they talk. Now and again, the Chinese teachers talk.
Yeah,
we have a little bit single subject people who talk, but for the most part, we're not there yet.
Okay. So what kind of resources do your teachers have access to?
Well, if it's not the tech, it's almost anything they want.
Okay.
We're very well funded. We have new curricular materials. They pretty much don't want for anything, in my opinion.
I agree.
One of the hang-ups we do have is a lot of times with I'm finding that with new curricular purchases, sometimes the software support isn't always there.
Okay.
For example, we got new AP Physics books this year, but the software is not on the approved software list.
Oh.
So, and we are 8 months into the school year, and we still can't access it. So, but
The government tech thing is difficult.
we spend a lot of money for the special needs programs. We spend a lot of money on athletics. I think we're very well funded.
And with with tech things that don't need to go through a lot of regulation, we have a lot of. Like, we have tons of smart boards, Elmos. I mean, all of those tools that could be even bigger if we had the software. We have those. We're ready. We just need the process.
And the smart technology, what would be nice is if the teachers would take a little bit more risk with it. And I find at my school it's more a display board than truly interactive with the kids. So
it definitely is. And we've been meeting too to talk about our own growth goals, and we both kind of talk about technology. And so one of our tasks was we were going to walk through, not just on our normal walkthrough, but walk through only kind of thinking about the tech. And we both came back and reported almost the same things. You see a few kids using it to write papers, and then the teachers are using the heck out of the Elmo, but and the smartboard, but not the students.
But they're the only ones using it.
Right.
And I will give the caveat that when all of that tech came into Zama, our system was so slow that for a teacher to use tech, it would actually slow their class down. And so it was
Originally, right?
Yep, and so it was very hard to get them to jump onto it because the network would take so long that they're just like, I'm losing class time. This is
Right.
making me go backwards in instructional time.
So you just brought up a little bit about your own personal growth and development. So how do you also continue to focus on that?
We have our own professional learning community with another AP from down in Daegu.
Okay.
And so we try to meet every 2 weeks in that kind of more focus group. And we take what's called our MAPA, which is our assessment, and we all look through it and we decide areas that we want to beef up. And then we've kind of started slowly planning through that. And then ours happen to be the same areas that we needed. And so we've roped in our tech guys and we're looking at making a year-long plan. It's been good. We also take classes online.
Okay.
I took a class she actually gave for her school.
Right. I facilitated a class on teaching techniques to increase student engagement.
And we both really embraced the college and career ready movement. Like last year, I had already had a binder ready. Like I was just prepping myself. Everything that came out, Erin took one look at it and was like, want. So we had my girl like make her one as well. And now, I mean, she's even better than I am than just constantly adding to it. So between the two of us, when something comes up in a meeting, it's like one of us is gonna have the answer. One of us is always ready.
Now, I wanted to ask a question about teachers that are, since you guys talk about reviewing teachers, if they seem to be lacking in some area or subject, what kind of programs do you have that will help them to educate them or teach them to bring them up to standard, let's say, in your schools?
Programs, or what do we do?
Yeah, what do you do? I mean, you might have a program, maybe you don't, and then you have to find something. Because it's very difficult for your part to do that, I'm sure.
It's not difficult.
No?
It's just time consuming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when an issue is brought up, you know, we make a point to just monitor, kind of go in more often and validate, is this really an issue? Bring the teacher in, have some conversations, you know, this is what I'm seeing. Based on their response, something may come along like, I'm going to be coming into your room a lot. And I'm hoping to see maybe X, Y, and Z. If they can't turn it around, then it becomes more of a formal process. In DODEA, the first informal part of the formal process is to offer a teacher something called an intervention plan, which most of them will accept. And that's a directed improvement piece where we can require them to follow a specific like lesson plan format and different strategies that they need to try. And that usually lasts for about 45 days.
Then we can ask them to have to co-plan with the district instructional support people. I've asked them to go walk through and actually sit through an entire other class period with a few other
Observe
teachers.
other teachers,
Yeah, the ones
bring in
that
support. I've gone through books and you know, given them things to read on different. If somebody's having problems with assessment, I'll pull out all my assessment stuff, formative assessment. If that doesn't work out, then we can move to a formal performance improvement plan, which lasts 30 days, and the outcome is they either fixed it or they didn't.
Right.
Yeah, so we don't necessarily have programs that help them, but we have a very tight process because we have a union.
Right.
And then it's up to us to, I mean, I think I've changed how I've offered help depending on the teacher every time.
Right.
Yeah. So, if there's anything you could do to, I guess to say, since you guys would be considered an international school, to make it more international, anything that you could possibly do, what would it be?
I mean, if we're going to be talking about the 21st century, the biggest thing I'd like is more tech capacity and ability. I mean, the fact that we have so few computers even, and we've had computers delivered since October, they just weren't being imaged, and then they're not going, so it's frustrating. Because I've got 450 kids rotating through 3 computer labs. And so it just cripples the teacher's ability if they were wanting to be so interactive. We have a new teacher who's just brilliant with knowing how to use Google apps in just an amazing amount of collaborative ways, but because we don't have computer access, so much of it then has to be homework. And then one of the issues with PCS and kids is there's certain times where they're not going to have the easiest access to a computer at home because they're in a hotel for 6 weeks to 2 months. So that would be my biggest thing, is to beef up our tech so that we could really get a lot more 21st century learning going. And more PD.
Yeah. I would just like to see more partnerships with local schools.
Okay, interesting.
We belong to what's called Kayak here, the Korean American Interscholastic Athletic or Academic Conference.
Right.
And some of my teachers are great at getting ships. When I was at the middle school, the German teacher made an alliance with the German school.
Right.
And they used to go back and forth for the language and then the music, because he also taught music. So their strings would come to the middle school and we had an alliance back and forth. And now I have a Korean teacher who is taking her students out to the Korean schools, and the Korean schools are coming in. But we've got other opportunities, I think, that we're not taking advantage of. I would like to see that for a more global perspective, because Seoul is such an international city.
It is, and there is something that I'm always very jealous of the local international schools, is it just seems that like their budget for professional development is just so much richer than ours. I mean, this college in Career Ready is one of the first organized PDs for teachers that I've seen in 6.5 years as an administrator for Nodia. And so we're very much having to grassroots all our PD. So when you asked her earlier about why do you think it's difficult to get the teachers to move, well, we're having to try to tweak them on our own. We're not being able to have these professionals come in and do it. And I have a background in PD, so sometimes it's easier for me, but I know a lot of my peers don't. Just like I don't have a background in some of the things they're really great at. And we don't get the on-the-job training, and then we can't get that to our teachers. So enriching the experiences, getting the technology, and then getting some real PD that helps teachers change.
I've been in Dodia 18 years, and this college and career readiness training is the first organized system-wide training I've seen.
Oh, great! Wow. Okay. And this just, you said, implemented this year?
It started last year.
Last year.
Well, yeah, because the elementary was math.
Right.
Yeah, so they've been telling us about it. So last year math got it in elementary, and then this year secondary got it. Math, ELA, and then we have 10 literacy standards across all subjects. But again, at the high school, she's having to spend 2 months convincing the other subjects that they are in charge of teaching literacy.
Right.
So that's why it's like the pacing is just always your school. And I always have to give her credit for that, because I walked into Seoul Middle and it's pretty rock star, but like she said, she was at Seoul Middle before she got booted to the high school. And it's a very different culture.
Yeah, oh, by the way, if I could just get you guys to state your name and everything.